I got slapped with $500,000 in HOA fines. $500,000. For what? Planting cherry tomatoes and hanging a holiday wreath too early. Yeah, really. They laughed when I told them I'd block their road. What they didn't realize was, I wasn't bluffing. Because, surprise, I own the only road in and out of the neighborhood. And they were about to get a masterclass in private property law. But let's back up because this wild ride didn't start with a road. It started with one tomato plant. Just a single cherry tomato vine growing peacefully beside my front porch, nestled among some marigolds. I thought it looked lovely. Apparently, the HOA didn't agree. One morning, while sipping my coffee, I found a letter stuffed into my mailbox. Unauthorized agricultural activity, it read in bold like I was smuggling black market kale. First, I laughed. I thought it had to be a joke. It wasn't. Next came the mailbox fine. Apparently, the bronze paint I picked was non-compliant. Then the Halloween decorations, the Christmas wreath, the wind chime that played Silent Night when it caught the breeze. Every week brought a new violation. It was like some twisted HOA-themed advent calendar. And it wasn't happening to anyone else. I checked. Talked to neighbors. Not even Mike, who had a 6-foot inflatable beer can on his lawn during football season, got a single warning. No fines. No letters. That's when I met her. Brittany Hall. HOA president, clipboard carrier, bleach blonde bun, so tight it looked like it could snap necks. She stopped me one morning as I walked my aging dachshund, Beans, and gave me a tight smile that screamed, "I hate your face." She called my blind, arthritic dog aggressive, and said my recycling bin was visibly angled. Then she said, "Some people just don't fit the community spirit." And that was it. That was the real issue. I worked from home. I was younger. I didn't go to wine nights or cookie swaps. I wasn't part of the clique. Brittany didn't like that, and she was using her position to make my life hell. Then, on my birthday, I got a certified letter. 7 pages long. A ledger of fines and penalties. Total $497,233.84. $500,000 in fines. Interest, legal fees, and something called a community remediation penalty. According to the footnote, that was for damaging neighborhood cohesion. My tomato plant was apparently a threat to their way of life. I called their office, assuming it was a mistake. Nope. They stood by it and said if I didn't pay or remove the offending items within 30 days, they'd begin foreclosure. That's when everything changed. I stopped being confused and started being furious. I went digging figuratively and literally. Pulled out every dusty folder from when I bought the house. Deeds, permits, surveys. And there, at the bottom of one faded document, was a note, private easement access retained by owner. So I checked the county's online map. My house sat right at the front of the neighborhood. The only road in or out passed right by my mailbox. And that road? Not listed under the HOA. It was marked as a private drive. My private drive. I called my friend Nate, a real estate lawyer with a passion for courtroom chaos. He confirmed it in one day. "You own the road," he said. "All of it. They don't have a recorded easement. Legally, you can shut it down tomorrow if you want." I just stared at my phone stunned. I held the keys to their kingdom and they had no idea. I started planning quietly. Installed cameras at both ends of the road. Got quotes for heavy-duty security gates. Hired a surveyor to mark every inch of the easement. Nate helped me draft a cease and desist letter that read like a cold slap with a legal glove. But Brittany wasn't done yet. She sent another certified letter. They were calling a special HOA meeting to initiate foreclosure. And where were they planning to hold this meeting? On my front lawn. They didn't ask. That's when I knew I was going nuclear. I played it cool. Let them think they had me beat. While Brittany strutted around like queen of the cul-de-sac, I prepared. Nate and I pulled every dusty record we could find. Turns out the builder had planned to deed the road to the HOA, but he went bankrupt before he could. The HOA formed anyway and just assumed the road was theirs. No one checked. No one filed. They'd been using my private road for years. Illegally. I wasn't going to shut it down. Not yet. I wanted to give them a chance to back off. But Brittany? She didn't know the meaning of the word. While Nate finalized the paperwork, I met with a few neighbors. Not the wine moms. Just the ones who'd had run-ins with Brittany too. Tom from across the street. Linda from around the corner. I showed them the deed. Their eyes bugged out like I'd pulled a rabbit out of my tomato plant. Meanwhile, Brittany pranced by with her coffee and said, "Big meeting coming up. You might want to start packing." I smiled. "Can't wait." The day before the meeting, Nate and I finalized the letter. 30 days to drop all fines and issue a written apology or I would permanently close the road. No emergency access, no deliveries. Nothing. I printed out 20 copies and labeled a folder in case of Brittany. Saturday afternoon rolled around. Sunny, deceptively calm. The HOA set up folding chairs on my lawn like it was their private amphitheater. Brittany brought a podium and a little bell. She lived for this. They started with roll call. Read off the list of violations. Unapproved horticulture, non-sanctioned seasonal displays, obstructive wind chimes. I kept a straight face. Then came the vote. 5 board members, 5 raised hands. Brittany turned to me triumphant. "The board has spoken." I walked up silently, opened my folder, and handed her a copy of the deed, the road survey, and the cease and desist. Then I handed copies to each board member. Confusion turned to panic. "This doesn't mean anything," Brittany shouted. "This road belongs to the HOA." "No," I said. "It doesn't. Never did. And unless you've got a recorded easement, you're trespassing." The silence was delicious. Then Nate, who had just sauntered in and leaned against a tree, said, "She's not bluffing. You've got 30 days. That's when a courier arrived. Handed Brittany an envelope. She opened it and her face went white. She'd been served. I filed a harassment complaint and property violation claim. She was standing on my road when it happened. Over the next month, I got to work. Hired a contractor to install gates at both ends of the road. Reinforced steel, automated keypads, backup batteries. I wasn't messing around. I mounted massive private property no access signs. Installed trail cams. I wasn't hiding anymore. And word spread. Neighbors slowed down when they drove by. Some stared. One woman dropped off cookies and asked if I was really doing it. I smiled and said, "Didn't leave me much choice." Brittany, of course, lost it. She stormed down my driveway one afternoon and pounded on my mailbox. "I'm reporting you to the city." I sipped my lemonade. "Already did. They said it's your problem now." She looked like she might combust. The HOA sent me letters. Printed, hand-delivered ones. Community sabotage, road hoarding, endangerment. I filed them all under a folder I labeled Brittany's greatest hits. Week by week, the reality set in. Deliveries got rerouted. School buses got confused. A plumber canceled an appointment because he couldn't get in. One HOA board member came by and asked to talk. I offered him a beer and showed him the documents again. He left muttering something about rethinking everything. Brittany called an emergency HOA meeting in her garage. Proposed a new tax to cover legal fees. That went over like a lead balloon. Residents started calling me, whispering, asking questions. I told them all the same thing: drop the fines, issue a public apology, and the road stays open. Then, day 30. The gates went up. It was peaceful, quiet, satisfying. Except Brittany wasn't finished. That night, under cover of darkness, she hired a landscaping crew to carve a dirt trail through the back of the neighborhood. She thought she could bypass the gate. But I had trail cams back there too. At 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion alert. There she was, directing a bobcat through the woods. She'd cleared protected conservation land. Not just illegal criminal. I sent the footage to Nate. Called the police. She got cited for trespassing and environmental destruction. That was the final straw. The HOA held an emergency vote and removed her as president. No ceremony. Just a quiet email: due to personal matters, Brittany Hall is no longer affiliated with the HOA. Her supporters vanished. Her allies went silent. And then, she disappeared. A week later, a moving truck showed up. She left with zero fanfare. Rumor had it her husband left her too. The fines and legal trouble wrecked their finances. And me? I met with the new board. They apologized. Dropped the fines. Agreed to rewrite the bylaws. Paid a settlement enough to cover every fine and then some. I bought the 2 empty lots at the neighborhood entrance. Built a cafe and community garden. Something warm. Welcoming. The irony? The very space Brittany once ruled like a tyrant became a place of peace. My peace. And every morning, as neighbors drive past my cafe, past my road, I sip my coffee and remember, revenge is best served slow, with foam art and a killer view of your enemy's downfall.